Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So let me tell you a story of an experience one of my clients that I had recently. So let's call her Anne. Anne is she's very smart, but she can be a bit impulsive. So Anne received her first interview in a while. So the initial interview was an online interview. So Anne went ahead and scheduled the interview for like the next day, the following day, 2 days, basically. In any event, um, couple of days later, I got an email from Anne. I'd love to get on a call with you or a video, so I did that. Um, Anne is frantic on the interview with me. She's telling me, "Oh, I did so poorly in the interview. It was a disaster." So I said, "What happened?" Basically, she's telling me, "Oh, she said didn't go so well." So she was like, "First of all, I got on this interview and I was 3 minutes late because my camera wasn't working. The whole thing wasn't going on." She said, "Yeah, technical issues," and she was trying to fix it. She's frantic. She's getting on, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Basically, and then she said, "Okay, once I fixed that and I was in, and I'm rushing, I'm apologizing to them that I'm late." Basically, but then started the interview, and I forgot my little star method that I'm supposed to use. Just to give some context, the STAR method really just means in an interview, you can use this thing called situation, basically. So STAR, situation, task, action, result. So it helps you kind of get a framework as to how to go through this interview. And I totally forgot that because she's now frantic, running around, just like trying to figure out what to do. Basically, so while the interview was going on, she forgot the name of the company twice. Totally forgot the company's name twice. And then she was struggling to respond to questions. She's fumbling questions, all those things. That, again, this is according to Anne, basically. And I'm here, I'm really just like petrified just listening to her. I'm like sympathizing with her, basically. But uh, the reason why I'm telling this story is because 40 to 50% of candidates fail to appear adequately for job interviews, leading to drastically poor performance and missed opportunities. So, again, just take your time, push it back a little bit, right? So, in this video, I'm going to go over and explain and give you some tips as to how to manage the interview or to plan for the interview, how to ace the interview. Totally, just like these are some, I'm going to explain, give you some action tips, some takeaways as to how to ace this interview. All right, so here we go. The way I think about it is that whatever you do, and you're having this conversation, and you're having, you're excited. Try to calm down. Try to just relax. You get this interview, you see it, you open your email. They're scheduling this first interview. Just be relaxed. Make sure that you're okay. So what we're going to do in this video, again, as I said, I'm going to give you 3 tips. 1, before the interview. 2, during the interview. And 3, after the interview. Things you should do, things you should be aware of. So, like I said, before the interview, what are you going to work on? What are you going to do? I say just make sure you're pretty relaxed, pretty okay. Take a deep breath, probably go for a walk, go for a run, something that just gets you to calm down, like something that just gets you to calm down. Once you're at that stage, I would say some people don't like to meditate, but do some meditation, deep breathing usually really works really well. Deep breathing meditation is great. You don't need to go on these 5 minute meditation. I'll probably say 30 seconds to a minute. Just meditate, kind of relax, or basically just in some cases, if you feel really anxious, even go longer. It just helps you calm down, collect their thoughts, all those wonderful things. And once you're cool, just get into some research. Like make sure you research, take notes, research the company, go to their website, research what's going on in the current marketplace, what's affecting them, what's not affecting them, stock price, all these things that you can learn about them. Even what's going on with the CEO, different management, especially the department that you're going to work on. If you can find a few things, a pro tip for me is to just go online on more than likely LinkedIn, look up the company. You can always see people that work there. You can look and see if there's anyone in HR or someone that you might be familiar with. Just reach out to them. Put together a nice message on LinkedIn and just say, hey, listen, I have an interview with the company you're working with. Do you have time? Typically, you just try to do that. Make sure you have schedule this thing like probably a week or so ahead, basically, or give yourself like 3-4 days minimum. Um, and just say, would you like something? We call this an informational interview, where you just probably get on the interview and you just ask them some question about what is it like working there, what should they expect, all those wonderful things. So that's part of the research. Really go through that process, right? And if you're doing this thing online, again, just run through some practice sessions with somebody, a friend, family member, online practice session. Just really go through that. Like, okay, let me familiarize, make sure if it's a new app that they're using, because some company might want to use an app, right? Make sure you understand that so you can explore this app before. It's really annoying when somebody send you this, and it has happened to me, right? They said, "Oh, we're going to use, you know, this one, Amazon, whatever," and you're sitting there saying, "Oh, how do I use this?" No, make sure you ask. Typically, they will send you and say they're using this one, and you can go through it and practice it. Again, practice on that app. Don't practice in whatever the app is. If it's a new app, if it's Zoom, you're good. You have used app, but still do some practice. If it's a new one, make sure you download the app. Make sure everything is set on the computer you're going to work on. All those things. Familiarize yourself with this platform, what it looks like with this app. Make sure that there's all the technical debt is gone through. You're looking at these difficulties, all these things, right? So just make sure. And again, like I said, practice as if you're doing the interview. You're asking questions, two-way questions, where you're asking the person question, the person's asking you a question, so you're really comfortable with the whole process of what's going to be going on, right? So make sure everything is working. Your audio, we live in this digital world. Sometimes one app doesn't like work with a mic or something like that. There's the compatibility issue. Make sure everything is lined up. Make sure what you're doing. Check and see what you're doing. Make sure it works. Great one. Headset. If you're going to use a headset, same thing. Camera, same thing. All those things. Just making sure everything works. Everything is working well. That there is no issue in terms of this thing doesn't work with this thing. Just go through that process. I would say at least twice before that interview, at least twice. And again, like I said, keep doing your meditation, calm yourself down. So that's the pre-interview stage in my opinion, right? That preparation is really key to assist you in this pre-interview stage. Yeah, man, you can go the extra mile. I personally love to go the extra mile. Like I check my virtual background. I'm making sure, okay, let me see what the background matches. If it's a weird background, I will change it, because in most cases, I would probably just encourage you to use a wall, just blank white, preferably something, but off white, just no background, nothing. That's what I would encourage you to do. Some people want to do it, but I would just say no background, wall. That's where you're going to do the interview. That's your spot right there. Make sure if your family members know that. So if they need to use that space before, no, this is your space. This is your time. You're going to do your interview basically. So again, make sure that there is nothing there. So I would encourage you not to necessarily use a virtual background if basically like the ones that you probably get from any of these apps or something. Just use a plain one if you can, on the wall right behind you. Like basically, mine's a little bit fancy right now. A little bit as you can see, the lots of thing. If I was doing an interview, I'm gonna get a plain background. That's it. Basically, that would be my personal. That's a pro tip. Just so don't be afraid to go the extra mile. Now, you've gone through that, you have done your research, you feel good, get in the interview. If you did all the things right, you're in the interview. I would say log in 10 minutes before. Just make sure you're logged in. It's fine. You can put it on mute and stuff and wait, but make sure you log in. Mic check, all those things. Make sure everything is compatible. Mic is compatible. And just like, okay, check in. Then you can always turn up put the mic on mute, stuff like that, camera. you know, relax, calm down, all those things. Do your meditation again if you need some deep breathing, really relax yourself to go into it. And then once you're there, basically just like try to establish a connection with the interviewer. I would say, you know, log in once you see, like, look at your clock, there's a minute to go, just like turn on your camera, turn on your mic, you're ready to go basically, or you can keep your mic on mute just in case, but just make sure you're looking at it. um, be polite, greet them as they come in professionally, making sure they say hi. Again, make sure that you have their correct title. That should be part of the research. You have their correct title, your name. If you have any problem pronouncing your name, believe it or not, you can always ask them prior to. Basically, there's nothing wrong with that. Just say, you can ask how they would like their name to be pronounced, and just be that. Again, if you're prepared and you have your questions and all those things that you did before, you can, don't read from it, don't pick it up and read it, just like have it there so that you can actually just have some questions. I usually say, if you practice the questions well enough, then you you don't need to read it. It's just, oh, it's there in front of me, it's one word, bring it back, and then you just keep talking about it, right? And again, I would make the case that if you use the STAR method, remember I said situation, task, action, results, as a framework to help you go through the questions, especially behavioral questions, that'd be really, really, really good. Like, matter of fact, I'm going to put some in the link below. I will add a few of those questions so you can use them. Basically, be positive. So be positive, sit up straight. Basically, have a good attitude, a very positive attitude. I usually like to visualize, how am I going to do this thing? Because visualizing, I see the end, right? So I'm beginning with the end in mind. So basically, so I visualize what the end look like. I'm doing well. I'm having a good interview. Basically, so I can see the outcome. I'm finished with this. So visualize what you're looking for. Be positive with it. Basically, it's like, just be okay with relaxing. Smile if you need to, just make you relax. I mean, don't laugh out loud. Just like smile if you need to make you relax, and you just like go through the process, right? So again, I would just say, think about that, right? So just go through, make sure you're punctual always. That's just a no-no, right? Be polite. Again, I'm going to stress that, right? Just making sure, if there's something, just be polite. Don't rush them. Just like take, it's okay to pause. It's okay to pause when you feel like you can pause and then go again, right? You don't need to pause for like, minutes. Like, you just do a 30 seconds pause, 20 seconds pause, like, and just keep going, right? And again, like I said, be positive. There's that people like when you're there and you feel positive, you have a good, we call it like a really good, strong person approach. To say, I'm talking to you, even though I'm on camera, I occupy the whole space. This is good communication and public speaking techniques, right? So I use my hand and I occupy the whole space, while, even though I'm on camera. So in person, I do this a lot, right? So this is a good way to occupy the space and show confidence and show positiveness in your communication, right? Because this interview is about communication and storytelling and speaking well, basically. So just learn those, practice and practice them every chance you get. Just practice doing these things. Basically, tell a story, communicate. It's really impactful way to do that. So after the interview, basically, most people have a tendency to just like, they're so excited, they're rushing, basically. So they're finished, they're wrapping up. Send a thank you note. Like, send a thank you note. You did well. You're off. You're excited, you're running around. Stop for a second and just remember, oh, let me send a thank you note. Just express your gratitude, basically, for taking your time to interview you, basically. And then think about, use this as an opportunity to say, express once again your interest in the job. Like, okay, express your interest in the job. And every time I go through this process and I make a video about interviewing in different format, I always talk about this, right? So express your gratitude in the job. Basically, let them know and then give them next steps, how they can reach you if they need to, like give them those things right in this stuff, right? And then for you, try to reflect on this interview. Don't just walk away from this thing and just like get about it, right? No, try to reflect and see, what went right, what went wrong. Take some notes, take away the positive, and then whatever you think is potentially negative, then you can work on it, get better, improve, because it's a 1% improvement. Um, so the way I think about this is, again, I'm going to say this right here because I think it's important. Instead of just listing your responsibilities in the interview, right? 'Cause you did that already on the resume. Use storytelling. Use storytelling techniques to bring your experience to life. Make it, oh wow, they're listening and they're like so enthusiastic about you just right using examples and anecdotes that demonstrates your skills and accomplishment, right? And again, you can tie that into the star method if you do it really well, right? Again, if you do it really well, you can use that as a framework, but turn it into a story. Don't just report your resume. Tell them a story about how this thing came to life, why this thing works, who are you, right? What makes it work. So, for example, let's say, for example, they ask a question like, um, "Tell me a bit about you." Most people do something like this. I'm a good worker. I'm pretty astute. I'm punctual. Okay, you just like listing the things that you can do. You're like, no, tell a story. Like, basically, like figure out how to tell a story. You could say something like, um, I was having go back to fifth grade when my experience around this thing started. I was in school. I was always nervous. I did not like to talk to anyone. I'm always just by myself. I'm not talking to anyone. It's just something I just don't do. As I got older, basically that followed me. So I wasn't the most person that would have friends and talk to people. I didn't like to talk that much. I would, basically. So as I go through that, my first experience in high school, moving from middle school to high school, I was tasked with do a public speaking, and because I didn't want to do the public speaking event, I basically skipped school that day. My mom, she was really upset with me. We went back and forth telling her, "Mom, I really don't like public speaking," so I was afraid to do it. And she was like, "No, you have to do this. You can't just skip school like that." So I went back to school the next day and I apologized for basically to the teacher. And my hands was like down like this. They're not doing, you have this little look on you. And then teacher said, "Okay, fine. So you're going to have to do the public speaking today." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was petrified at the moment, right? Basically. And she was like, "Oh, yeah, you have to do this public speaking." So I'm doing this public speaking, and long story short, it was just like really horrible. I was like, sweating really, like almost like in tears. And I saw how the people looked at me, like, it was like, oh wow, they just looked at me really weird. And I went back, sat in my room, and then this other guy went up and he did this fantastic public speaking. Everybody liked him. He was laughing and stuff. And I looked at him and I said, "You know what? I want to be that person. I want to be that person where everybody's smiling at all those things." So I basically went out and I started taking some public speaking classes, and I met with some people to help me get better at public speaking, and basically understand how to speak well and use storytelling. So why am I telling you this? The reason why I'm telling you this is because I understand how communication will impact how your organization grow, and all the things that you do to communicate with your clients is pretty important. That I know that communication is one of the number one skills that is used in corporation to affect teamwork, to affect customers experience. Thank you. So what I just did was use, that's what's an anecdote, right? That honestly, that didn't happen to me, basically in that way, but in some ways it did, basically. But that is how you should try to answer it. So I spoke about communication, but I gave them a story that pulled them in. That like, oh, they empathize with me. Oh, Jesus, he was petrified. He was humiliated, basically, and all those things. But then I went and I found that, and they saw how I went from my weakness to my strength, and how I use this opportunity to develop my communication skills, basically, and then tie it back to the organization. Powerful, right? So that's what I would say to you. Ideally, basically, you can go on and talk about your accomplishments. Basically, over the years, I've became a banker, and because of my good storytelling and public station, I became number one salesperson in the bank. Your accomplishment, say tying the accomplishment with the skills. And that's basically how this works. So again, just remember, don't list your job things that you did. Turn it into a story. Practice doing a story, one or two stories. Practice doing it. Things that you have gone through. Go back to some of those things and see how you can turn them into a story. And again, people love the storytelling, and the idea that I bring in some the examples of having a conversation with my mom, make it more real and rich. And I'm talking to her and she's talking back and forth. Because the dialogue brings out the storytelling, basically. So it was, so you can do that into your interview to make this thing really works for you, basically. So just try to understand that. So thank you so much for participating this basically in my talk today. I just really want to share this with you. If you found this valuable, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, because subscribing allow us to push more valuable things that relates to you, basically videos and content that relates to you, that we really appreciate, and we want to make sure that we're getting these content out to so many people out in the world. And also just share it with some of your friends that you think might just need it. There might be one or two of your friends just need this right now. That you're gonna share them. So best of luck. And as always, basically get out there and find your North Star wherever it is. Thank you and have a great day.